Hi everybody, it's 91, heat index of 100. I just got back from walking Chance, taking a short walk, try to stay in the shade as much as we can. He just loves to walk. And Jazzy, it's too hot for her, she's not going out. So she'll just go in the backyard. Anyhow, talk about part 3 of my railfan trip out in the Garden Railroad in the shade. But while I'm out here, I thought I might review some of the signs, some of the railroad artifacts that I have accumulated over the years, and then we'll get into the trip. If you remember on my trip, I was leaving Jackson. I was on the south end of Jackson, so the first couple places I took some side roads and showed where the line to Oak Hill crossed the side roads, and then Route 93 showed where it's all torn up and paved over. Everything is gone there completely. I didn't shoot a whole lot in Oak Hill itself because I didn't need to be honest with you. I just went there for a specific purpose, and I'll show you that. And then I followed the road back down to Portsmouth, Ohio, and I went over and looked for some bricks next to the Norfolk Southern yard, and I'll show you an aerial photo of that, and a few engines that they were shuffling around anyhow. And then finally I was in Vanceburg, Kentucky, and I stopped and looked at the really nice railroad depot there. So it won't be a real long video, so that's why I thought I'd talk about some of my railroad artifacts. All right, it's awful hot out here, so let's be quick. This is off the DT&I switch stand in Waverly, Ohio. It was rusted off and broke. The bottom of it just got it sticking down on the ground. I found it in the weeds and picked it up. Pretty rough shape. That was probably in the 90s, maybe even 2000s. Whistle post was on the B&O, came from South Webster, Ohio. Supposedly the contractor that scrapped the line there. You know, got all the signals and all that. A buddy of mine buys railroad artifacts, and he bought a bunch of stuff from him, and he sold this to me, and of course I've painted it up, and that is a heavy thing. It takes 3 grown men to handle that thing. So it's going around the corner. This is a C&O, was from the Hocking Valley, Nelsonville, Ohio. And my brother got it. The line ran through the technical college there where he taught, and they were cleaning up after they abandoned the line, and this was in the weeds. And so he said, hey, my brother would like that, and they gave it to him. This sign comes from B&O Chillicothe Yard. They had a brick warehouse with a big long wooden loading dock, and they used it for company stores. They were getting ready to tear everything down. It was the winter time, and I found one person working in the depot upstairs, and I said, hey, can I go around and take some pictures? He said, yeah, there's nothing going on, just be careful. So I said, okay. So I walked all over the place and took a bunch of pictures, and again, a few weeks later, this was going to be scrapped. So this was loose on the end of the dock, so I took it. There's nothing to identify it as a B&O sign, but that's where it came from. Here's the dock that the sign came off of. Unfortunately, I didn't think to get the end of it with the sign still on it. You see it's just company stores. Interesting thing was I have 1985 written on the back of the photo, probably in January or February, and that's a B&O boxcar with a roof walk, company service. I have no idea where this came from. Someone gave it to me. I don't know if they found it, whatever, but come on up here. This is one of those labels that was on the cars in the 70s. It actually had taken it off a car and was using it as on the sign on the back. It has a stencil on for somebody to park there, assistant superintendent or something. But that'd be a sort of good keepsake. So the last couple things before I head inside, I got this in St. Albans, West Virginia last year. Again, C&O replaced all their signals with all those modern looking ones. This was laying in the weeds. Until you get them down off the ground, you have no idea how big those things are. I had no idea those lights were that big on those signals. That's just like the background behind them. And finally, that is a DT&I mileage marker. I think this was around Bainbridge, Ohio. After the DT&I was scrapped down there in like 82, 83, these are just real flimsy, like aluminum or something, and they're painted reflective. They're nailed to the line poles. and probably still a bunch of them in southern Ohio, but by this time they're probably all shot up full of bolt holes. But said the line was gone, had been gone for 2 or 3 years, and so I had a pair of pliers with me, and I pried it off the pole because I knew it was going to disappear sometime. So anyhow, those are my railroad artifacts. So time to head in, and I'll show you what the part 3 of my trip was like. Well, I walked right by that. It's my it's off the B&O in southern Ohio, off the Higher Division, Maine. That's over 100 years old. The B&O and the CH&D ran side by side for quite a few miles, and the CH&D took off to the right, went down to Wellston, and when the B&O took over CH&D, they basically kept part of the CH&D track as passing sidings, and then they tore up the rest of it. So this was the B&O mile marker, and it was a place where they had torn up the CH&D track, and so they replaced it with a modern mile marker closer to the actual tracks. So this was over in the woods, all overgrown. It had been pushed over. So I don't know if the people that put the new mile marker up pushed it over to avoid confusion or whatever, but anyhow, so I pulled it up and cleaned it up. It was real rusty and bent up, and so I've painted it several times. I've had it for, gosh, over 30 years. P stands for 78 miles to Parkersburg, and the backside says C117, so that's 117 miles to Cincinnati. And I do have a few lanterns, but I'm not a lantern collector. I just wanted one from the railroads that served Ross County. These are some old bottles from Chillicothe. And over here, one of my dad's wings. There's a oil can and another lantern. And finally, I've got 4 more lanterns. I think that's a Southern on the upper left. I think that's an NW, the one with the red globe, and a couple battery-powered ones. An old man gave me that B&O. Obviously, he put that on there. I think it was a B&O lantern on it. Probably the most prized railroad possession I have, anyhow, is this was my grandfather's railroad watch that still works. I never wind it, never use it, but it still works. Okay, I'm now looking toward Jackson. I'm on Keystone Station Road. Obviously, Keystone was a stop. There was something here at one time. There was a passing siding here. Obviously, it hasn't been used in many, many years. Again, I'm looking north toward Jackson. I'm going to swivel around and look south toward Oak Hill. So there hasn't been anything more than a high rail truck here in many, many years. There's no business down here at all now. We're on Clay Banner Road, looking back toward Jackson. I mean, there's a washout right there. And now we're looking toward Oak Hill. So I'm a couple miles north of Oak Hill, and this is the second place where it crosses Route 93. I don't know what the name of this is. I may be a mile from that Clay Banner Road. Looks like there used to be a passing siding here, maybe, but it is gone. I mean, there's a couple ties. It goes that way. I'll walk over and see if the rails are still in the ground over there. You can see they've still got the box here. Probably for one time it had a signal, but the signal is gone. The railroad crossing sign is gone. And there are the rails heading that way. So not gonna be any train in Oak Hill anytime soon. So there's Charrington Scrap siding up there. That's the main line down there. You can't see Davis Fire Brick from here. This is called I think Liza Jane's. It's got the best footlongs probably I've ever eaten as far as the sauce. Eat more footers. I'd model this place if I had space. So actually this building is so short it only has the one window in it. Again, that's the back. You can see back there of the Dutch's restaurant. So here's how the two go together. I'll just shoot some pictures while I'm here. You can see how the maybe used to be an awning there, maybe not. There is like a tie off up there, a metal tie off embedded in the brick. Interesting thing. Very small. So there actually is a little stoop there. Not as high as the one I was going to have, but anyhow, I may put one back. So again, there used to be a couple buildings there, long gone. That was a gas station there, and actually a gas station beside it. And here's the front of the building with the awning on it. You can almost read what that used to say up there, but not anymore. And around the back, that's like somebody's backyard now, so I'm not going to walk back there. So I'm at Cedar Heights Clay, and this is clay back behind them underneath those tarps, and this is what I'm going to try to incorporate into my backdrop. This is the big Norfolk Southern Yard in Portsmouth. Of course, XN&W is a huge coal classification yard back in the day. So this is a shell of what it once was, but just to the bottom of the photo is the Ohio River, and that's a good place to find bricks. So that's why I stopped here. So I'm in Portsmouth by the river. This is the flood wall right ahead of me, and this is the big Norfolk Southern Yard and a W yard. And I've just looks like they're turning some engines on the Y maybe. So thought I'd give you a shot of at least one moving train in this video. I assume after he clears the switch here, they're going to radio. Yep. I'm just going to stay here because I'm going to have to cross over ahead of them here in a minute anyhow. So I'm in Portsmouth, Ohio, heading back home. And one thing I just want to show you guys is fabulous flood walls. I don't know exactly how long it is. These murals this guy painted, took him a long time to do. They are really fabulous. You can see it goes way down there. So if you're in Portsmouth, you need to check it out. Okay, it's the last stop of the day. I'll put all this together into a video. I'm in Vanceburg, Kentucky, which is on the C&O, right next to the Ohio River. The line that follows all the way down there. If I look, those hills beyond the banner, that's Ohio, way beyond there. The Ohio River's right down over that hill. So, small little town. I think it's the county seat of Lewis County, something like that. They have restored the depot and made a museum, which of course is closed on Sunday. Man, look at that beautiful house right there. So I am looking east on the old C&O, now CSX. And now I'm looking west, and this is still an active line, not as active as it used to be, but it is a really cool depot. So let's take a look around it anyhow. All right, I'll just sort of walk around it and pan. It's pretty small, probably about the size of the Oak Hill depot. Maybe it's a little bit bigger. Oak Hill is pretty small. See that it actually has the freight house attached. Well, not attached to it. It's on the same platform. Obviously, they've poured all this concrete. It didn't used to be like that. That is just a beautiful house across from there. And they have a CSX transfer caboose. So let's go take a peek inside it. Not a whole lot to see in these. I mean, they didn't use these like for crew sleeping quarters and stuff like that. But It's always good to see a caboose restored. Here's the west end of the building of the freight house, anyhow. Freight house, and here's the west end of the depot. And we'll walk down the platform. Wish it was open. I'll take a peek in the window here. Yeah, pretty cool. So if you're ever in Vanceburg, it's just a couple minutes off of the AA highway. It's well worth the stop. Cool little town. Okay, everybody stay safe.